Wake up feeling foxy.
I listen every morning.
With Foxy and Friends. Weekdays 7 to 10 on Foxy 94.3.
Welcome back into the show, folks. I'm Elijah Griffith.
And I'm Dominique Mims.
And on the phone, we have a very, very, very special guest today. Him and his co-host, Brad Sherwood, are bringing their Scared Scriptless tour to the Mountain Arts Center in good old Prestonsburg, Kentucky, just next month. You know him from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Please welcome into the show, Colin Mochrie. Colin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So how's the weather where you're at this morning?
It's a little cooler probably than where you are. I'm in the northern part of Ontario.
Yeah, because you're Canadian, eh?
I am.
So I've got to ask, man, what's the deal with this whole Canadian bacon thing? Isn't that a little false advertising, you know?
No, absolutely not. Nothing but the finest Canadian pork goes into making bacon.
Making me hungry this morning there, Colin. So we got a bunch of questions there for you, man. A big fan of your work. I grew up watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? Of course, a lot of people have all over the world. So what can people kind of expect at this Scared Scriptless show?
We like to say it's sort of a live version of Whose Line without the tall guy and the black guy. It's a lot of the same games we do on Whose Line. Every game starts with a suggestion from the audience. We have audience members on stage with us for about 80% of the show. It's just wild, goofy fun. It's not political. You're not going to learn anything, but you're going to have a couple of good laughs.
So does this mean that every single part of this show will be made up on the spot?
Yep. Brad and I have been doing this show for 17 years. We find it works best when we're totally out of our comfort zone and constantly in panic mode for your entertainment dollar.
Yeah, well, and a very creative name, too, the Scared Scriptless there. Like, did you decide on that name for the tour first, or, like, were there others kind of bouncing around in your head? What made you settle on the Scared Scriptless?
Well, every year we try to come up with a different name for the tour, and this one just seemed to fit. It fits perfectly, actually.
Yeah, well, I got to say, too.
I like it a lot. I really do. So you've been doing improv comedy for years, but when did you get your start and where?
I was in theater school in Vancouver, and I saw a demonstration of improv, so I immediately signed up for some courses and started doing it then. And then moved to Toronto in the late 80s and did Second City there. And that's where I got involved with Whose Line. They were doing sort of a cross-country audition tour and managed to get involved with it. And it was one of those things, I always loved improv, but I never thought it would become my career. I'm actually doing something that wasn't an occupation when I was growing up.
So how long have you been doing improv comedy for?
Over 40 years now.
Wow.
Oh, man, I'm old.
No. Aging like wine there, buddy. So, but like, what keeps you going, though, after a career of 40 years in improv comedy?
What's great is because the show is never the same twice, you never get bored with it. It's not like we're, musical bands where you have to play your greatest hits every show you do. Every show we do is different, depending on what games we play, depending on what the audience gives us, depending on how we are that day. So you can never sit back and just sort of walk your way through it. You always have to be on your toes.
Okay. I can get that. Yeah, some jobs do get boring whenever you're doing the same thing every single day. But I mean, when in a career of 40 years, though, I mean, of course you love what you do. But is there anything that you don't like about doing improv?
Let me think. No, I mean, the only thing about the tour is sometimes the travel can get a little grueling and stressful, depending on, especially in the winter, flights can be canceled and we're scrambling to get to a show. But as to the improv, there's absolutely nothing I don't enjoy about it.
Well, 40 years you've worked with legends, everybody from Richard Simmons to Robin Williams. So have you ever had like any favorite guests, like some that were just the funnest to work with?
Robin Williams was great. He came on, did the show. He was just lovely, just a lovely man who, I mean, he was an Oscar winner, and he was doing our show and treated us all as equals. I think he had a really great time. Our energy, I think, went up 200% working with him, because he has such energy, and you also want to sort of match his, or try to match his comedic brilliance. So that was a very special show for all of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, he kind of got his start doing the whole improv thing too. But like, did you have any like idols, maybe somebody that you looked up to in the business?
Oh, well, when I was young, there was a guy called Jonathan Winters, and he was sort of the first guy that I ever saw on television who you saw was making up things as he was going along. And I loved sort of the danger of that, and it always seemed to work for him. There was never a time where he was lost. He always kept going. He was a big idol for me. And the Monty Python guys, any kind of comedic act, from television to sketch comedy. SCTV was a big influence. Anyone who made me laugh, I would really study them and try to figure out what they were doing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So anything can happen in your line of work, but what's the craziest experience or thing that's happened on stage?
It's so hard to remember things because you're constantly in survival mode. So as soon as one thing is done with, you're on to the next thing. The weirdest thing I can remember is we were doing a show, and there was someone sitting in the front row dressed like a horse. And it wasn't Halloween. There was no holiday that celebrates horses, as far as I know. We actually brought him up and sang a song to him at one point, but we still don't know why he was a horse. It was very odd.
What song did you sing to the horse person?
We improvised a song about a guy dressed as a horse and tried to figure out what that was about.
Did you ever get him to take the horse costume off at any point?
Nope, he seemed very relaxed, and I wasn't sure what he had under the horse costume.
Yeah, you probably didn't want to find out that part.
No.
So, okay. I know that improv can be challenging at times, especially if somebody's dressed as a horse in the front row. Like, do you have a most challenging improv moment besides the horse guy?
For me, a musical improv is not my strength. And we have a couple of musical games in our show, which terrify me and also excite me because I can never relax during it. Brad is a great singer. He's a great musical improviser. So it's actually been interesting over the last year doing this game that I'm not really at my best at. I'm just very committed, and I've actually been getting better at it. So it's exciting to see, like, I'll never be on a Broadway musical, but I think I can get away with doing some musical improv at times.
Okay. So you mentioned Monty Python earlier. I love all the Monty Python movies. Do you have a favorite Monty Python movie?
Oh, I probably The Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's a good one.
First movie I saw that was just insane. It was just I must have seen it like 5 times when it came out, and this was before video, so you actually had to go pay for your ticket every time, and I still watch it from time to time, and it still holds up. It's a very funny movie.
Yeah, it is.
Well, since you are always outside of your comfort zone, do you find yourself practicing improv?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. Most of it is just having confidence that it's all going to work out somehow. I've been working with Brad for 17 years, so we know each other really well. There's times when we're on stage where he may be leading the scene in some direction, and I have no idea where it's going to go, but I trust him enough to sort of follow along and see what happens. But there's no way. I mean, basically, our lives are improv. So every day we're improvising. So I guess that's all the practice I need.
Yeah, well, and that is life. It's all improv. So, I mean, what can we expect for the future of the Scared Scriptless tour?
We'll keep touring until I need hip replacements. We're getting close. But as far as I hope I can do this for as long as I can. As I say, it's the most fun I have in my performing life. I get to travel the world. We've done a show in Australia, India. Recently, it was the British Whose Line's 30th anniversary. So we did some shows at the Royal Albert Hall in London. It just amazes me where this show has taken us. So I keep just looking forward to all the experiences that we're going to have in the future.
And is the Scared Scriptless Tour show, is that a show for all ages, or maybe should parents kind of be a little bit skeptical bringing any children? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, we try to keep it family friendly just because we have so many families as fans who have watched the show. So our audiences go from, like 10-year-olds to 90-year-olds. It never gets any more risque than the television show did. So, we keep away from swearing. We try to keep away from anything that can be, too blue. We tend to be pretty good.
Yeah, because, you go by audience participation, so you're really just going off anything that anybody says. Have you ever had just something off the wall that somebody shouted out that kind of left you speechless, or you had to stop for a moment and think?
What we love is when we get suggestions we've never heard before. Usually, a lot of times, you'll ask for an occupation. We get gynecologists and proctologists a lot, which we tend not to do because people really don't want to see a scene about that. But once we got lactation expert, which I thought, oh, okay, that's great. We've never had that before. I don't really know much about it. But we ended up having a really good scene about it because it inspired us. It was something we never had. It gave us that sort of energy. So we try to make the audience work as much as we do in the giving of suggestions. We try to get them to think outside the box and give weird suggestions, things that will inspire us.
Mm-hmm. Well, Colin, we are really looking forward to the show, man. Again, we're huge fans of the whole Whose Line Is It Anyway thing. And thank y'all for coming to good old Prestonsburg, Kentucky, and bringing some great improv comedy. And we'll see you on May 17th there, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, thank you, Colin. You have a great day.
You too.
All right, folks. There it is. You heard it right there. Colin Mochrie of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Very cool.
Yeah, tickets are very affordable for this show. This starting at $25, going all the way to $45 if you want a good front row seat right there. And it's it's always funny. If you've ever watched Whose Line Is It Anyway, it always cracked me up.
I've never watched it.
It's a good one. You'll really, really enjoy it.
That was always the late night television that was past my bedtime.
Yeah, that curfew.
Yeah.
But it's fun for the entire family. Like he said, you don't exactly know what anybody's going to shout out, but it's a good time. And listen, if you say there's nothing to do around here, you're obviously not looking very hard because there's great events going on all the time.
Go be the audience member that yells out something insane.
Yeah, like
and watch them have fun with it. Scramble.
Like the lactose thing right there. I would have really liked to seen that scene right there.
I'd say it was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be very difficult to take what someone says right on the spot and come up with this whole entire scene that has to unfold in a certain way.
Yeah.
You have to constantly be stressed that it's going to go well, but at the same time, excited and exhilarated in that moment.
I can't imagine creating an entire show right off the bat.
Have you ever done improv ever?
No. And
I have actually.
Really?
It is a lot of fun.
I would say it is. Like, where'd you do it though?
We did it when I was in school. It was always an exercise that we had for an arts class.
Okay.
So the way that they are, they've been with each other for years, so they know how it's going to go. They built this relationship and this trust. But if you're doing it with just a random stranger, really, it becomes difficult because you don't have that relationship. You don't know exactly, if I say this, well, they'll probably say this. It's completely off the wall.
Yeah, and I can probably do it in front of like my school classmates, something like that, but I cannot do what these guys are doing and just going in front of a live audience full of thousands of people and just creating an entire show right on the spot. That's a special kind of ability right there.
Has to be fun for sure.
Yeah, folks. So the show time is 7:30 p.m. Like we said, tickets are ranging from $25 all the way up to $45. So very, very, very affordable fun for the entire family. And you can expect that show Friday, May 17th at the beautiful Mountain Arts Center. We still have a whole lot more show left, so stay tuned.
If it's on top, we're surely playing it. Foxy 94.3.